The waist of the fullback hasn't been equated in some time. Yes, there's still some in the NFL like Kyle Juszczyk and Patrick Ricard, but for the most part, teams aren't looking for a fullback on their 53-man roster. But there is a silver lining for these huge backs. In the USFL, there has been a fullback rocking the league with, so far, one of the best teams. That man is Bobby Holly. Today I will talk about Bobby's career so far and the walls he had to break through. Bobby Dwayne Holly Jr. was born on June 4th, 1997 in Ruston, Louisiana, and lived in Farmerville. He would attend Union Parish High School and play as a tight end fullback hybrid in a run-heavy varsity team. His first 2 years, he wouldn't do much, but that wouldn't stop him for when the moment he needed to be there. Bobby would keep himself in elite shape with powerlifting during the football offseason. His junior year would start up his career in the best way possible. Being a fullback in a smash mouth offense has its perks. Running heavy gives Holly blocking and pancakes. While also being a tight end, he gets big plays from unsuspected defenses. In the span of 7 games, Bobby caught 7 passes for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Farmers would go 14-1 to the playoffs, where they would win the LHSAA state championship against Livonia High. Bobby's senior season would outperform the season before substantially. In the span of 10 games, he would record 18 catches for 454 yards and 7 touchdowns, as well as securing 7 pancake blocks on the offensive line. For his performance, Bobby would be honored first team All-State selection. The Farmers would go 11-2 and back into the playoffs, but was eliminated from the bracket in the quarterfinals against West Feliciana High. After high school on February 4th, 2015, Bobby would sign a letter of intent to Louisiana Tech as a walk-on.
Big part of that was, I had a bunch of family that was, 30 minutes from La Tech, so I felt it would be good for me to just be able to have all my family come over and watch my game.
The Bulldogs are going into head coach Skip Holtz's 3rd season after going 9-5 and losing to Marshall in the CUSA Championship. They lost some big pieces in quarterback Cody Scohol and defensive coordinator Manny Diaz, but filled it with the promotion of safety coach Blake Baker and the transfer of former Gator Jeff Driscoll. That being said, Bobby would redshirt his freshman season in 2015. The Bulldogs would go on without him and win 9-4 and win the New Orleans Bowl against Arkansas State 47-28. Bobby's 2016 sophomore season starts off well, earning a scholarship to play for the Bulldogs, but this would turn melancholy as his mother, Stella Amaker, would pass away from breast cancer. Since then, Bobby has been a strong advocate for breast cancer awareness. After mourning his first season in pads for LA Tech, Holly would exclusively play special teams for all 14 games, garnering 9 tackles and a kick return for 11 yards. He would also have 4 carries but for 0 yards. Him and the Bulldogs would win 9-5 and West Division champs. They would lose to Western Kentucky in the CUSA Championship but win the Armed Forces Bowl against Navy 48-45. The next season would be much of the same for Bobby, playing mainly special teams. He would have 1 tackle and 2 kick returns for 23 yards, while LA Tech would take a step back and go 7-6, playing the Frisco Bowl against SMU. They would win 52-10. Just like high school, Holly's career really begins his last 2 years. His 2018 junior year, he would start 3 games out of his 12. He would record 4 receptions for 7 yards and 2 touchdowns. 1 touchdown against South Alabama, and 1 against LSU. Bobby would also still record stats on special teams, being 2 tackles and a kick return for -5 yards. The Bulldogs would win 1 game more than last year's season standings and participate in the Hawaii Bowl against Hawaii, and they'd win 31-14. Bobby's senior season in 2019 would be his best, going for 6 starts in 13 games, 5 carries for 13 yards, and grabbed 7 catches for 46 yards. He would also have 1 rushing touchdown against Southern Miss and a receiving touchdown against UTEP. LA Tech would go 10-3 and be division co-champions with UAB. They would also participate in the Independence Bowl against Miami Hurricanes. They would win 14-0. Unfortunately, Bobby Holly was one of the many football players that were affected by the COVID pandemic by the cancellation of his college pro day. He and other players would create a private pro day in his hometown in Farmerville.
Well, the thing about it was, I had a lot of people in my corner. I had my coaches from my high school, and we got connected with a couple another high school that was down in my town that had some turf field. So we just got to work after that. It wasn't going to stop us. We just continued working, we continued training, and we got like a kind of a makeshift pro day. And we got out there and we got some good film put out.
But they didn't have the right equipment, meaning the results weren't as concrete as the NFL may want them. When the 2020 NFL draft came around, Bobby's name wasn't called. But on April 25th, Bobby would sign with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Go Chargers, go!
The Chargers let Derek Watt walk into free agency, meaning that they needed a new fullback for Anthony Lynn's offense, as well as having some interest in Bobby's special team abilities. Holly wasn't the only fullback though, as he would have to compete against UDFA from Florida State, Gabe Neighbors. Bobby would be given the jersey number 41, which is not only his college number, but the number for the Charger great Lorenzo Neal.
I told him once I get out there, I'm going to wear that number with pride. That was the stamp on it. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to wear that number with pride.
He would gain a cult following within the Chargers fan base with his physique and strength, a highlight being able to pull a Chevy Silverado. He and Neighbors would be neck and neck until the last days of training camp, when Bobby was released in September 2020. A few months after the release, Bobby would participate in LA Tech's Pro Day in March 2021, because of not having an official one in 2020, but nothing would come out of this. It wouldn't be until a year later in March 2022 when the USFL Birmingham Stallions drafted Bobby in the supplemental draft. The Stallions would be head coached by his former LA Tech coach in Skip Holtz, as well as working with a few former Bulldogs in Jamar Smith, O'Shea Dugas, and Adrian Hardy. He was also contacted by the Pittsburgh Maulers, who were looking to pick him up in the draft, but Birmingham got to him first. In the first season of the USFL, Holly would be playing with the likes of CJ Marable, Tony Brooks James, and later on, Bo Scarborough. He would play 7 games in the regular season and record 1 catch for 7 yards, and this play.
Colby Wadman to punt it away. Jalen McCluskey, the deep man for Pittsburgh, and it's a fake. They go up the middle with the fake. Rumbling is Bobby Holly. Bobby Holly cruising inside the 10, but cut back and in for the touchdown.
The Stallions would go on to win 9-1 in the South Division. Bobby would be inactive for the South Division playoff game against the Breakers, but would be active in the USFL Championship against the Philadelphia Stars. In this game, Bobby would have an impressive catch for 25 yards, and the Stallions would win the championship 33-30, making Bobby a USFL champ. As players would come and go, Bobby would resign back to the Stallions for Season 2 in 2023. The season opener was against the New Jersey Generals, which they won 27-10. But during that game, Bobby would tear his right pec, effectively ending his season short. The Stallions would make the playoffs once again as the South Division champs. They would beat the Breakers, again, and beat the Pittsburgh Maulers in the championship, giving Holly a title as a 2-time USFL champion. On July 18th, the same day Alex Magoo was signed to the Packers, Bobby Holly would resign with the Stallions for a 3rd season and hopefully for a 3-peat championship.
Birmingham was definitely home. I gave it my all last year, and I definitely gave it my all this year. It wouldn't been right. I wouldn't have felt right to even think about exploring any other opportunities, because I mean, that's my family. Those are my guys, and they gave all they had this season to get us back to a championship game. So I think it's only right for me to get back next year and give us that same opportunity.
In his football career, Bobby has shown how much of an athlete he is. A man that has played tight end, fullback, and even slot receiver. His strength has carried him to one of the best teams in modern USFL history, and hopefully after a 3rd season, he will make it to the NFL. I cannot wait to see what Bobby unleashes after spending a season of healing on the USFL turf.